Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Melanie Smith Stamps. I am Melanie, and today we are playing with the LDRS Creative newest release. Now, this is just a few of the items here that I've got from the release, and then a couple extras we're going to just use from previous releases. But today we're going to be playing with the Heart Balloon Bouquet. This set here is a pressed and foil plate and a die set, and you also can get the stencil set for this. But instead of stenciling today, we're going to use some Tim Holtz watercolor pencils and the LDRS Creative watercolor paper. And we are going to create a card using these two products here, the quilted plaid and the hand-torn rectangles, as our background. So let me open all these products up and get my BetterPress out, and we will get started crafting together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put the press plates on our BetterPress. Now, we are going to be watercoloring today, so I'm going to use the hybrid ink here and stamp this out with Raven. I love having the larger plates, the larger ink pads with the LDRS ink pads for these larger plates. It makes stamping these backgrounds in large plates effortlessly. So get that really good and inked. And then I'm going to run it through my Platinum 6. Now, I've already got my watercolor paper on here. And you just want to make sure all of your plate is actually covered. Okay, let's reveal. There is our gorgeous inked items there. So that is pressed into the watercolor paper. And now we're going to simply die cut these out so we can line these dies up. I love this sentiment. Just when I thought I couldn't love you more. And it's always such classy fonts when you get the LDRS Creative sentiments. Their fonts, well, really their whole product line, but the fonts especially are something that I thoroughly enjoy. Because they've got lots of class and they're different. They're not the same big, bold, sentiments that you see a lot of in the market. So I'm going to just get some tape here and tape this down and run it through my Platinum 6. Okay, I'm back with the die cut balloons all out, and I've got my sentiment here, which I'll just sit aside. And what we're going to do is watercolor these balloons. Now, I've chosen a rainbow from the Distress watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz, and that's what we're going to use to color. So I'm going to just start at my pinks and just go all the way. So I'm going to do some light coloring with the lightest pencil. And this is very easy coloring. So if you are one that loves the look of watercolor but doesn't necessarily love all of the water and all of the mess, or not really mess, but the time it takes and, the balance of water and paper and ink and everything, this is an option for you if you like quicker and easier ways to go. So I'm just going to pick some random balloons here and color them in with my lightest pink. This here is Catch Flamingo that I'm using. And I'm going after a pastel kind of look. I don't want them to be, I want it to be a rainbow, but I don't want it to necessarily be a primary color rainbow. I want that to be a more neutral, not neutral, but a more soft, muted feel. So let's see, how about we do this one up here? And just give each of them a base. Doesn't have to be perfect coloring because you're going to move this around with water. Do that. And then we will grab worn lipstick, and I'm just going to grab it and color down at the base just to give it a two-tone effect. And I'll do that to all of it. You're giving the shadow here by just kind of going in where it would be the darkest. And of course, you know, like a balloon like this, you've got, it's all behind these other balloons, so that would make all of that darker. And then here where all the balloons meet, it's always going to be your darker area. And here where, you know, the balloons are meeting as well, and we'll just fill that in partially too. So now I will take my watercolor brush, and you could either use a watercolor brush like this. This is one from Spellbinders. It's a fine tip, or you could choose to use water in a paintbrush, whatever you like. So because I have this glass mat from LDRS Creative, I go ahead and use my glass mat, and I just squeeze out some of the water here, and that shows me also that my brush is clean, because sometimes the tips of the brushes get a little dirty from all the different coloring that you do. But if you squirt out some water and you look at your water, you can tell that it's a clean brush. So then I'm just going to come in here with my moist brush. It doesn't have a ton of water, and I'm not squeezing on the paper. I'm only picking the water up on the side and bringing it over. And I'm just going to blend these colors in together so that you no longer see the pencil marks. And that's the key here, is you don't want to see those pencil marks. That way it looks completely watercolored. So some of these will be lighter than others. That's okay to have variation, because of course you have lights and dark shadows all in here. Like this one here probably would be your darkest balloon because it's way back here in the back. And then we'll just fill this one in here and blend that light and dark, soften everything, and we are done with that one. Now I go color by color, that way my wet heart is not next to the next color. So before I move on, let me just make sure that's clean. Okay. So let's go on to the peach and the orange. And for this one, I'm using dried marigold and spice marmalade. So what I will do is I will go ahead and shoot for maybe ones next to or close to the pink heart, so we can kind of keep our rainbow colors similar. And maybe this one here. Keep them close by so you think rainbow when you actually are looking at the image. You want to, you know, see your similar colors together. And we'll maybe do this one. Now sharpening these pencils, which I probably should have done before I started today, you can use any type of normal pencil sharpener. I actually like the Prismacolor pencil sharpener, but you can use even the back to school kind of pencil sharpeners for your number 2 pencils. Those work just fine with this. So let's see, how about we come up here and do this one right by this pink one. There we go. And for now, I'll go ahead and leave this one alone. If we have an extra one at the end, we can always put an orange there, but I've got an orange here, so I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go here again and add the darker. I just love these details on the sides of these balloons. They're so pretty. Just the way it's kind of shadowed there, even for you, by the artist drawn line. Okay, we'll come in on this one. Here again, where the balloons all meet, the crevices, that's all where your dark is going to be. And because this is a round item, that's why the artist has put those lines there, because you're round, your heart is curved, and so it's got those design lines there, which is really, really helpful when you're shading. So now I will go ahead and pick up some of this clean water here and do the same thing. So I'm going to do all of the rest of these balloons in the same manner. And I'll go ahead and go over my colors here real quick with you when I'm done with this one. And then I will fast forward you to the end so that we can move on to the rest of the card. I want to actually show you the card base making today as well. So I don't want to spend the whole entire time on coloring, but I think us doing 2 of the colors together and then you having the correct colors to use for the rest of them will help you in your crafting. So from here, I'm going to go and I'm just going to use squeezed lemonade for my yellow. I've got cracked pistachio for my green. Then for my blues, I have tumbled glass and shaded lilac. Then here I have milled lavender and dusty Concord. And then because I wanted a little bit of a darker purple, I went ahead and did Seedless Preserve and Villainous Potion. So those are all of my colors. And I'm just going to continue coloring and then we will pick up and continue. Okay, so now I have all of the balloons colored. And here they are. Close up look at them so that you can see the placement of all of the different rainbow colors. It's a little bit brighter than I thought it was going to be, but that is okay. We're going to have a white background, which is going to make it look even more subtle. I just noticed that I didn't color the bow. So let me just grab a color here. We'll make it blue. Just add a little bit of color in there. These watercolor pencils are very effortless. And they're really fun and relaxing to color with because there's really no stress to it, which I like, especially at the end of the week when I'm recording and I just want a no fuss, no stress, artsy look. So I'm just going to fill this in and then our balloons are done. The next thing we're going to do is actually create our card base and card front. So I'm just going to sit this aside with the sentiment. We'll put it off screen here a little bit. Now we're going to start out with an 8.5 inch piece of paper. We're going to cut it in half at 5.5. And then this piece here we're going to score to make our card base. Okay. So this piece here we're going to use to die cut out our background. Now, as I said, we're going to use the quilted plaid, which we will die cut down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6. I'm going to get this impression, which you see this does not have a cut edge around it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this impression. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to die cut this like so. So let me do this first step, which gives you this look here. It's so detailed and really luxurious looking. So then I'm going to take this again and I'm going to run it through. This time I'm going to cut it with these hand-torn rectangles. So I'll put a little piece of tape on here and then I'll run this through my die cut machine. So this is what we have when we've done that with these two dies. We have a deckled edge, or hand-torn, as the name of this rectangle set is called, hand-torn edge. And we have that background pattern. Pretty sure you can see that, yeah. So it's really nice place for your card to land. Now, because I want to make a shaped card base, I'm going to take this same die and I'm going to lay it over the folded edge of my card base. And this is the reason why I wanted to go ahead and score it and have it ready to go. So I'm going to just take a little piece of tape here and tape this down to keep it in place because I don't want it to shift too much to one side and accidentally cut the fold line. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of my Best Ever Craft tape here and just tape this in place like so. See that? So the cut line right there is not going to cut into the fold line of your card base. And run that through your Platinum 6. So here is my final card base. I ran it through twice just to make sure we would get a good cut on it, a cut line. And now you're going to have your card base to evenly match up with your card front. See that? So we'll go ahead and attach those. I'm using my Sweet Petunia glue press, which saves my fingers because I believe I have some trigger finger or some arthritis starting in my fingers. So I'm using this because it's just wonderful. And then we will go ahead and glue this straight down, lining up those edges so that no one even realizes we added that little piece there. Just take your time and go around the edges and line everything up perfectly. Give it a good press. Now on this side, you'll see there's a little lip right there. It's not even going to notice, but now you can open up and you have your great little card base. And what we'll do is we'll come in here with our balloons, and I'm going to put them over to the side. Now this die here, the hand-torn rectangle, is a slight bit smaller. It's actually 4 inches by a little over 5, maybe almost 5 1/4, maybe right at 5. So it's smaller than an A2, which would be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's okay that these tips of the balloon go over the edge a little bit. It's still going to fit in your envelope. So I'm going to go ahead and get some foam for this. See if I have any big ones left, because I'm almost out of my large ones and I have ordered them. So I have these few right here. So we will just make do with these. Now these are a little thinner. These are the 1 millimeter, which are really nice and thin. I don't know if you can see that. And then you can get 2 millimeter ones that are twice the thickness. So I'm going to use one of these 2 millimeter ones when I do my sentiment. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. One thing I love about the Spellbinders adhesive squares is that the backs pull off so easily. And I'm going to put this at the angle that I wanted it. Pretty. Look at that. See, it's like it's flying right off the page. Isn't that cool? Then we will take the sentiment, and I'm going to put one of these 2 millimeter foam squares on this side of the sentiment. And this is the beauty of having 2 thicknesses of foam squares. And then I'm going to offset that just like this. And then you've got your finished card base. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial today. And let me know if you try to make a card inspired by this one. I would love to have your thoughts on it. And I hope you've had a wonderful day. Now, as a reminder, I do have a 15% coupon code for LDRS Creative. I'll make sure to leave that and the link down below, along with any other supplies I may have used. You'll see a visual supply list down below, which will help you find the items I've used today. I hope that is beneficial to you and that you come back and see me again really soon, because I love crafting with you. Have an amazing day, my friends. Bye-bye for now.